If you want to make $10,000 per month with Airbnb Arbitrage, then this video is exactly what you need to watch. You've probably been told that you need thousands of dollars of upfront capital, perfect credit, or years of real estate experience to be able to build an Airbnb business. But what if I told you you could build a high cash flowing Airbnb business that makes $10,000 per month without having to put any money down on a property? See, we built a multi-six-figure Airbnb business that completely runs itself, all within our first 12 months of getting into the business. And we've helped hundreds of students as well scale their portfolios to $10,000 plus per month with Airbnb Arbitrage. So in this video, I'm going to break down the things you actually need to succeed and build a highly profitable Airbnb portfolio. Let's get into it. The first step is actually market selection and deal analysis. You're going to need to understand what market you're going to target and how to analyze that market to see if it's a good one to start in. You can actually do the complete analysis of your market only using Airbnb.com. So what you first have to do is you have to look at areas near you on Google and understand what the short-term rental regulations are. So you can go on Google and type in short-term rental regulations XYZ city, and you just need to make sure that it's allowed. If there's a permit or something that's like that, that's okay. That doesn't disqualify the city. You just need to make sure that it's allowed and it's not banned and that there's a lot of people doing Airbnb. Second, you need to go on the Airbnb platform. You need to use the filter section and search by 2 guests, 4 guests, 6 guests, 8 guests. Look at all the top properties that are there and see, okay, how many reviews do they have? How nice for the photos? If you click on the calendar, how far out are they booked? Are they booked 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Do they have a lot of reviews? Are the reviews positive? If you click on the profile of the person that has a lot of the reviews, do they have other properties as well that are also profitable? If you dive in and you look all these factors within using the actual Airbnb app for the city you're interested in, you're going to quickly be able to identify what types of properties do well, which ones don't do well, and what are the top performing hosts in your market. And we're going to use that later to actually make sure we find the best properties for Airbnb Arbitrage. Next, we need to talk about funding, because if you have this goal to get to $10,000 per month with Airbnb, but you have no way how to fund it, well, it's not possible. So there's actually 2 directions that we can go when it comes to funding. The first one is using a model called co-hosting. This is when you go to a host and you say, hey, landlord, I like your property. I actually think if you listed it on Airbnb, it could make a lot of money. I would be willing to operate and manage the whole thing for you, so it's completely passive, for a percentage of the profits. The landlord would choose to do this deal because it's going to be completely passive for them, and they would actually make more money working with you than they would from a long-term tenant. In this situation, the landlord pays for everything. So they pay for the furniture, the cleaning, the utilities. There is no lease. You have a property management agreement. So you would have $0 you have to put into the deal, and you would make commissions or percentage of the revenue from month to month. And you can make anywhere from $800 to thousands of dollars per month just by being a property manager or co-host on the property. The second way that you can fund these properties for what's called an arbitrage deal, which is where you go to the landlord and you say, hey, landlord, I'll sign the lease for $2,000 per month. I'll give you that $2,000 for every month as long as I'm allowed to take this property and list it on Airbnb. You'd list it on Airbnb, and that $5,000 revenue that you would make in Airbnb minus the $2,000 rent, minus utilities and cleanings, what left over is your profit. That is arbitrage. So what we can do is once you apply for what's called a LLC or limited liability company in your state, you can do this with a site such as LegalZoom, you will get what's called a EIN number back. Once you have that EIN number, you can apply for what's called 0% interest business credit cards, meaning you can get approved for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in 0% interest credit that lasts an entire year. And you can use the profits from the deal to pay off the debt on the 0% interest card. So you don't have to use any of your own personal funding to actually get the deal up and running. This is how I and my other students have been able to scale so quickly and so fast with arbitrage, is leveraging these 2 methods, co-hosting and business credit. The third part to this is you need to understand how to pitch landlords your services as a short-term rental company. So there are a few things you can focus on in your pitch, and actually we give our entire script for free in our Skool community. So our Skool community, we give everybody a free A to Z course on how to actually get started with Airbnb. So if you're interested in that, you can go to skool.com/Airbnb, or you can click the link in the bio. However, in this script, some of the main things you're going to focus on when presenting to the landlord is the fact that 1, this is 100% passive for them. They're going to get rent in their bank account every single month, and they're not going to have to worry about any sort of tenant calls around toilets or anything like that, because you as a short-term rental company would take care of all of that for them. Also, since since you're a business, you're never gonna leave. As long as you're making money, you're gonna keep re-upping the lease. So every 2 years, as opposed to the landlord having to go out there and do background checks and take security deposits and not know whether or not a potential tenant is going to be good or they're going to trash the property, they can just trust you and they could keep re-signing the lease to you over and over. And plus, if they're a real estate investor, which often happens, they purchase multiple deals. So once they know that you're good with this deal, they're going to offer you future deals as well. And these are all points that you can bring up to the landlord to make sure that you're pointing out the positives and what's in it for them. See, people don't care about what's in it for you. They only care about what's in it for them. So with our pitch to the landlord and the script that, again, we give you for 100% free in our Skool community, we focus on all of the positives that we bring to the landlord, and we have a whole list of all the objections or questions you could be asked and how to handle it. But I'll give you one here quick, which is what happens if there's a party at the property? What I typically say is, hey, we actually go through a strict vetting process of our guests, take security deposits, match their IDs. We don't just let anybody on the property, so we never have to worry about any sort of party scenarios happening. But if party scenarios did happen, we have our own insurance that would cover for all of that, so you wouldn't have to worry about any damages being done to your property. Is one example of an objection you may have to overcome. Part 4 is once you actually have the property up and running, how do you maintain really positive 5-star reviews and maximize your revenue? So how we do this is we actually use a few different softwares. One of the softwares we use is called SuiteOps. What SuiteOps allows us to do is create custom guest portals. So essentially when they click on the link, they'll have their own portal that'll show all the details of the property. Before they can get into the property, they get offered things like early checkout, late checkout, pet fees, parking fees, any additional upsells that we offer, they get offered as well inside their guest portal that they can instantly click and pay us with their credit card, so we earn that additional revenue. In addition, once they are at the property, it'll prompt them to say, hey, out of 1 to 5 stars, how was the condition of the property when you arrived? If they say anything less than 5 stars, our cleaning team and virtual assistant team will be alerted, and we can reach out to them to make sure that they're having a good stay, answer any problems that they have, and provide them a good experience. We also use a software called Hospitable that automates all of the guest messaging. So when they book the place, when they're about to arrive at the property, one day after they're at the property, the day before they're about to check out the property, after they leave the property, these are all touch points on what you're gonna have to communicate with your guest. We use Hospitable and have pre-built out templates for all of these situations that hit on all of the information they need to know, so your team gets less questions and it just focuses on offering upsells, capturing their information, and inviting them to join you back at a discount. So not only do they stay with you this time, but they stay with you for future times as well. This ensures that you have reoccurring clients, and we can actually use softwares like SuiteOps and Hospitable to retarget the past guests, send them text messages, emails, and have them stay with us again, except you can actually stay off platform. We could save 3% on the Airbnb fees, and we can make extra money. And this is how even in slow season, depending on your market, you can consistently make money. And when I have all these things in place, I barely have to work. I have a portfolio that's close to 40 units at this point, and I spend roughly 1 hour a week managing because I have all these systems in place. And then part 5 is around scaling. You know, what can you actually expect with scaling? So each unit is gonna make roughly at least $1,000 per month profit. So you can kind of use that as baseline. So if you wanna get to $10,000 per month, you just need 10 units. If you wanna get to $5,000 per month, you need 5 units. Now some units can make more, $1,500, $2,000. I have them. Some of them may make slightly less, 900, 800. So to be very conservative, use that $1,000 per a unit average. Now, once you have your second property, that's when you can really implement these softwares and what's called a virtual assistant. So what we do is we go out there for our students and we hire and train ex-Airbnb employees. So people who used to work at Airbnb. What was called a level 2 case manager is their position. We hire them, we train them on all of the softwares that we show our students, and then we give them to our students so that that person actually runs their entire business 40 hours a week, and they can focus on scaling and making new relationships and setting up new properties. Because at a certain point, you don't want to have to be worrying about any of the day-to-day. You want to focus on bigger picture stuff of just reinvesting, getting more properties, different kinds of deals, and continually adding to the existing system that you already have in your portfolio. Some of the biggest mistakes that people make when starting their portfolio is one, they don't leverage the power of business credit and they don't understand how to get business credit to be able to fund these multiple properties. So instead, they just try to wait until they have $20,000, $30,000 saved up in cash, which is not needed. Another big mistake that people make is they think that they can just list any unit without doing the proper research and they can use their phone to take pictures and that it will make money. Don't get me wrong, you can lose money if you are not a professional host. If you treat this as a hobby and not a business, you will lose money. But me and my students make great money and are leaders in our markets because we understand how to market a listing, how to optimize a listing, how to extract the most value and revenue from a customer, and how to get them to come back to us again and again. That is really the key to hospitality. So when you have these step-by-step systems and process in place, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to scale, and you're going to consistently be very profitable, and then be able to reinvest that profits to continue to expand. So those are the only things you need to get to $10,000 per month in Airbnb arbitrage. Look, the information in this video genuinely has the power to change your financial situation for the better. So I hope you took good notes as we're going through this so you can start implementing it. And at this point, you really have two options. You can try to implement all of this yourself, potentially spending months to figure out what markets are the best ones, how to set it up, where to find cleaners, how to negotiate and pitch with the landlord, and everything in between in order to try to just get one deal. Or you can get help from people who've done it themselves hundreds of times and have helped hundreds of students do the same, and avoid all of the common mistakes that beginner hosts typically make. See, we help people like you skip the learning curve and get their first profitable Airbnb within 3 months without having to put any money down on the property. You get one-on-one guidance from myself and Vince, weekly private coaching calls, a fully trained virtual assistant that would actually run your company for you so you can focus on expanding instead of the day-to-day operations, and a complete step-by-step roadmap that has everything you need to go from 0 to 6 figures a year with Airbnb arbitrage. So if you're serious about building passive income with Airbnb and you don't want to waste time figuring out alone, click the link below to join our 100% free Skool group, www.skool.com/Airbnb, where you'll have access to full free trainings from us and ability to ask us questions. And if you're interested in booking a call to learn more about how to work with us directly, you can ask us on our Skool community as well. Finally, make sure you like and subscribe if you found this video to be helpful, and click this video here to find out how to find the most profitable Airbnb in just these 5 steps. Have a great day.